Switching gears a little bit, I'd
Yeah.
like to do a little bit of a sort of a speed round favorite things.
Yeah, totally, go.
Thematic. And what's your favorite 80s slasher film and why?
I was gonna say Halloween, but it's not 80s.
Well, we could do that. We can go with Halloween.
Can we go?
1978.
Well, Halloween wrote the book on slasher films. That's the thing. I mean, Halloween's one of my favorite movies of all time. I love that movie. It kind of started the cliche. It started the horror film cliche, and yet at the same time, it still holds up. It doesn't feel dated to me.
Does that count as your all-time horror movie, or do you have an all-time favorite horror movie?
Yeah, it would count. I always say it. You know, I think it's very difficult to pick favorites. You know, when people ask me what my favorite record of all time is, it's impossible to answer that question. So when it comes to the horror genre, I mean, I could say Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. You know, like that first film is incredible at what it manages to achieve, and it feels so visceral and so real. And I don't know, I have a lot of favorites, but I always go back to Halloween.
Go to one more favorite. What's your favorite Peter Jackson movie that doesn't take place in Middle Earth?
Heavenly Creatures. I love them all, genuinely love them all, especially his pre-Frighteners film. I have a real soft spot for the Frighteners. I think that's an underappreciated genre classic. A movie that really beautifully weaves horror and comedy together before we really were dealing with. The thing is that horror comedies have become really popular now, but there was a real time for that in the 80s and 90s that people have forgotten. I mean, I suppose Evil Dead 2, people know that was a comedy. Anyway, Heavenly Creatures, I digress. Heavenly Creatures is probably my favorite film of his.
And finally, when it comes to Halloween, is that an opportunity to go bloody or go goofy?
Oh, bloody. I mean, yeah. The last time I dressed up for Halloween, I dressed up as a sort of Day of the Dead skull face, which is somewhere between funny and horror. But I tend to be attracted to horror rather than comedy when it comes to dressing up for Halloween.